Hi, my name is Andy Jowenson, and I am very excited to be talking to you all about education and why I believe that every student in the United States should have access to tuition-free after-school programming. Now, when I'm talking about this, I am not talking about going through the private sector, doing programs such as YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, programs like this that usually require parents to pay a tuition fee, and they involve registration process where they're vetted and they are sometimes denied for a variety of reasons. What I'm talking about is a system that is put in place that offers free educational services in the after-school hours for all students through their schools. We know, based on statistics and just the history of education in this country, that by providing additional resources, by providing free and appropriate educational services, we promote justice. We promote social justice, the rights to education, the rights to a better life, to be a more engaged citizen. And we do this by educating. And so if we are truly to be the land of opportunity, we have a moral obligation to provide this. Education is consistently regarded by people far smarter than me as the greatest weapon in the war against ignorance and stagnation. And unfortunately, in the United States today, we are stagnating. In comparison to those countries that consistently offer high quality, free access to education, we score worse in terms of life expectancy, in terms of productivity at a societal level, and in terms of happiness. It's no surprise when you look at the numbers why Denmark and the Scandinavian countries are so happy. They have received free access to education and all the services that they require from a very young age, and that is reflected in how they and their society exist in adulthood as they grow up, as they go on to join the workforce. And there's competition for good jobs, but it is not the focal point, and they don't have competition for good schools. Everyone has access to high-quality educational institutions. In the United States, that's not the case. We see it in the Supreme Court today, that there is corruption when it comes to getting students into higher educational, upper echelon institutions of learning. Parents feel the pressure. They use the resources they have to secure positions for their child because they know that, all right, if they get into that program, they are better off statistically in the future. And that's a trickle down because we see it happening now, not just at collegiate levels, not just at the top schools. We see that happening at community colleges. We see that happening at high schools where people have to opt in or can apply to get into a school that might be out of district. And we see that starting to happen at the middle school level, but it's very evident when it comes to elementary school students. Not for access to the best, neighborhood school, but for access to the best additional supplemental supports. Russian math programs, tutoring centers, these are in most cases, very highly competitive. And students who can get into them are more statistically, they're more likely to succeed in the long term. And that's a lot of mounting pressure on parents. And students are feeling it too. Students see the effect that falling behind has on not just grades, but they see the effect that it has on social development. Everyone, sadly, can probably think back to their elementary school days and think about that kid that was behind or maybe had trouble reading, wouldn't want to share out loud. And they can probably picture them also in middle school or high school struggling still. And that's because the statistics do not lie that if you fall behind in terms of literacy by fourth grade, if you were a grade level behind or more by fourth grade, statistically you are going to be behind in literacy at your reading level for the rest of your life. Now, this is not there are outliers, but in the current situation of our United States school system, the sad reality is people are left behind. We are not providing free and equal opportunity for all students. There is an incredible competition, and it's detrimental to their development. After-school programs level the playing field. By removing that competition element of not having to worry about access to high quality education, students can focus on developing themselves as a person, engaging with a mentor, gaining those skills and that ability to dialogue and be self-aware and grow. That is huge for promoting mental health, physical health, and academic success at the collegiate level or in the workforce. I, as an educator at an after-school program, I've seen the benefits that providing free access to education can have. There are students in my program that would not be able to afford the tuition that it costs to go for this program. They receive a scholarship, they receive a 95% heavily reduced price to go there. And it is exactly what those students need in some cases. That child who might not have access to mentorship with their parent because they're working, they can find that in a safe and supportive way with their after-school teachers, with those specialists, those tutors that are called in to support them. It works with the family. It removes that competitive aspect, and it's just easy, and it's very peaceful for those families to know that they do not have to stress about their child falling behind because they realize that they're part of a community. And in the United States, we want to provide that, but we make it really, really tough. And so if we are going to have a society that supports all students, that wants to compete at the highest level on the global stage when it comes to providing productivity and having an engaged community and a thriving economy, we need to start that at the ground level by providing all the required and necessary services that students need. The National School Boards Association stated just this year that when they were looking at the countries that provide free access to supplemental services in the after-school hours, those countries are more productive and are more engaged and thriving when it comes to the global economy. The competition that is felt for those people they're in the driver's seat. They are in a position where they were supported in the right ways, and now they are working at the highest level. They're working in an economy and in a system that supported them, and that they in turn can support back. In the United States, we do not have that. We are competing with ourselves at an unnecessary level, and we are making it impossible for us to grow globally. And this is reflective in the ways in which we have stagnated, but it shouldn't be the case. There is not a traditional educational model that has lasted for more than 20 years. Education in the United States is always progressing, always going forward. Education is not just about teaching, it's about evolution and adapting. The educational programs that used to exist focused on 3 subjects. We have added more subjects. We've added physical education, we've added health and wellness, we've added engineering, drafting, auto mechanics. We've added necessary pieces to the educational game that can keep America competitive. But now we're deciding that, okay, we're going to draw the line and we're not going to give students what they need to succeed. This is very similar to the battle that was had in the 70s and the decades leading up to the inclusion of special educational services. We had, in this country, for too long, not provided free access to services for those students who face and experience mental impairments. But now, the concept of special ed is a given. It's tough to imagine schools today without paraeducators, without specialists that work with students that have a challenging time. Education in the after-school hours is the next step. In a world that is diversifying, we need an equally diverse set of supports for students. Supports that might be necessary for some, but they're available for all. And so how we do that is we design programs that cater to the individual, but not not in a way that's detrimental to society. I think about the chain link fence scenario. I'm going to leave you with this. There's a baseball game, and everyone pays their small ticket price. They get into the baseball game. When they get to the outfield standing room seats, your standing room area, they see that there's a big wooden fence in the way. The dad of the family can see over the fence, but his two kids that he brought to the game cannot. They try as hard as they can. One even stays on top of the shoulders, but they just can't see. The dad sees this. He complains. He goes, leaves the game, comes back the next day. He's given a box. Everyone in the stadium that is sitting in the standing in the outside, the outfield, is given a box, and they're said, okay, now you can see. And so the dad, he could see before, he could see even better. The son, he can see now, but his daughter is still too short. Even if she uses the dad's box and her box, she still can't see. And so the dad sees this, frustrated again. He goes back and complains. So the owner says, don't worry, come back tomorrow, it'll be better. They come back tomorrow, the prices of the game have gone up. And when they get inside, they find that, okay, now I can take all the boxes I need. So the dad doesn't take one, his son takes one, and his daughter takes 3, because that's what she needs. But now we've seen that there's more boxes being given out. There's more cost to just enjoying and watching the baseball game. And so the dad, frustrated again at the fact that he might not be able to come back again after in a couple days because they're out of money, he goes and complains. And so finally the owner puts up a chain link fence. And this chain link fence allows everyone to be able to go into the stadium, regardless of height, regardless of their scenario, and be able to see, be able to enjoy and experience the game for what it was supposed to be. That is what educational services should be in this country. It should be necessary for some, but available to all. And I am very excited at the prospect of more districts jumping on the idea of providing these services at free, at no tuition. That is a world that I want to see. That's a world that supports people, provides opportunity, and that's a world where the United States is competitive, where the United States is supportive of its civilians, of its people. And it is a United States that is going to provide all that's necessary for people to live happy lives, to live fulfilling lives, and to enjoy full access in our country. And so that is why I believe that after-school educational services are necessary to be tuition-free. Thank you very much, and I look forward to continued dialogue at a later time. Thank you.